I Good afternoon, colleagues of the 25th Resources and Development Committee. Thank you for being here this afternoon for a special Resources and Development Committee to address or get a report on the procedures for the FY25 program budgets that will be coming forth. As oversight, we have 5 divisions that we will be hearing budget requests from. So with that, I'd also like to thank our legislative services staff and our legal counsel and our audience that are here in person, and then to the listeners on the call. So at this time, Rodney, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 1:20 p.m. And with that, if you could please take roll call.
Madam Chair, members of RDC, this is roll call vote for Resource and Development Committee, the 25th Nominations Council special meeting for Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 at 1 p.m. Roll call, Honorable Brenda Jesus.
Present.
Honorable Brenda Jesus is present. Honorable Casey Allen Johnson. Excused. Honorable Shauna N. Claw. Honorable Rick Inez.
Rick Inez present.
Honorable Rick Inez is present. Honorable Danny Simpson.
Here.
Honorable Danny Simpson is present. Honorable Otto.
Present.
Honorable Otto is present. Madam Chair, you have 4 members present who has constituted the quorum for this special meeting.
Going on to our proposed agenda. We do have invocation. So at this time, if I can ask Shiaj Honorable Arso to the Zen Kwagi Fahmi region Ashwin being
Oh, that's definitely. Let's definitely let's have a vacation here. Ono jono ne na san hima jona alien ha. Ishinge ko. This ha ne kado ho ne te. Lashla ni ano apese ko. Ne chilkas ni complicated. Ni kana de donda yut ada kage. Ko ado ya on Joseph ni do kodo o kidin ni kodo Joseph ina tan majona ishin ko which is hadi dan is kan this kan ni de ko ya be ya ko kaki ya only that this is on in along the that or ya that nature ya ko ne we ni no shi ya ju ni no shi sui ni no shi ji ni no or we ya ko he didn't even ya ko ya see we can you the house ko need ke no ni ja ni is ni jane hin ni such is wrong that this ni het so hard she did benzig fesi hard she ya la de benzig ade ben he uns in ben na ya ni na only za kidas todo me ka it's also in what she found more jona any she ni to genre kede genre ta na we ke genre what he name leave we're gonna sleep
Yeah, Shiaj to the Zen Kwagi teacher. Members of the committee, do we have any announcements at this time? What about legislative? Nothing? Okay. So with that, I'd like to go on to item number 2 on the proposed agenda, recognizing guests and visiting official. DJ special meeting, and again, we just have a Resources and Development Committee members along with our legislative staff, and also we have Mr. Greenstein and Mr. Ed Seaton, and then we have Ed Seaton, and also we have Office of the Speaker, Public Information Officer that is in attendance. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and proceed on to item number 3 on the agenda, reviewing and approving the agenda. So Rodney, if you can please read the proposed agenda into the record.
Madam Chair, members of RDC, the proposed agenda reads as follows. Resource and Development Committee, the 25th Nominations Council Special Meeting for Wednesday, July 17, 2024 at 1 p.m. Presiding Honorable Brenda Suits, Chairperson, Honorable Casey Allen Johnson, Vice Chairperson. Location, Navajo Division of Transportation and via telecommunications. 1, call meeting to order, roll call, invocation, announcements. 2, recognizing guests and visiting official. 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. 4, reviewing and approving the journal, none. 5, receiving reports. A, report from Office of Legislative Counsel on the Oversight Committee budget meeting regarding FY 2025 budget program budgets for the FY 2025 Navajo Nation Comprehensive Budget. 6, old business, none. 7, new business, none. 8, close the meeting, announcements and adjournment. Madam Chair, members of RDC, that is the proposed agenda read into the record.
Members of the committee, may I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Honorable Addison, second by Honorable Clark. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on the agenda that is here before us this afternoon? Going once, twice. With that, Rodney, roll call vote, please.
Madam Chair, members of RDC, this is roll call vote for reviewing and approving the agenda. Honorable Sean Claw, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Sean Claw votes green. Honorable Casey Allen Johnson, how do you vote? Excuse. Honorable Ricky Nez, how do you vote?
Rick Nez, votes green.
Honorable Ricky Nez votes green. Honorable Danny Simpson, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Danny Simpson votes green. Honorable Otto, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Otto votes green. Madam Chair, that's 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and Madam Chair not voting.
Thank you. With that, motion carries. Going on to item number 4, reviewing and approving journals. We do have none. Going on to item 5, receiving reports. But first, I'd like to go ahead and recognize Shiaj Honorable Herman Daniels, who is also on the call here this afternoon. So Shiaj for being on the call here this afternoon. So with that, going back to the agenda, receiving reports, number 8. Report from Office of the Legislative Counsel on the Oversight Committee budget meetings regarding fiscal year 2025 budget program budgets for the FY 2025 Navajo Nation Comprehensive Budget. We do have presenter Ms. Mariana Khan, Principal Attorney with Office of the Legislative Counsel. And I believe, colleagues, that in the meeting invite, we do have the procedures that is outlined, so you can go along with that, just with Mary, our legal counsel's presentation here this afternoon.
Do we do it between the two or two?
Okay, so Ms. Khan, I know that this is somewhat of a new or kind of making some minor changes. Do you think 20 minutes is sufficient for your report, or do you want a little bit longer time?
I think that if that should be sufficient, but I think that your questions will add it at the end.
Okay. So
It'll probably be more. Should just say right now, 30 minutes.
30 minutes, is that okay with you, colleagues? Okay, we'll go ahead and allow 30 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jay, Mariana Khan, that should be a donut and it should be a cool here, community. At the Russia's chain, last year, that should change. Senator can aid that another Hakatawa Foundation. Okay, what I want to start off with is just a little bit of background on the budget process this year. And after discussion among at the Office of Legislative Counsel, we decided that the legislation for the comprehensive budget the legislation for the oversight committee would be structured with the budget and finance committee being the final approval authority. Last year and the previous years, I don't know how many years before, the oversight committees were the final authority. And there was a period before that time in which the budget and finance committee was the final authority. There's just been evolution, and we believe that there is a time for this change, and that will be Budget and Finance Committee would be the final authority for and include recommendations from the oversight committees. The Navajo Nation Code provides that the oversight committees make recommendations to the Budget and Finance Committee with regard to the divisions and programs the oversight committee has oversight authority over. And that these recommendations, they use the word negotiate these recommendations to the Budget and Finance Committee. And along those lines, the structure of the resolution is such that the Resources and Development Committee and Resources and Development Committee and Budget and Finance Committee are listed at the heading as committees that the legislation will go to. The Budget and Finance Committee is listed at the final part for the final authority. With the provision that according to Title 12, Oversight Committee, RDC, makes the recommendation. And so your recommendations will be included after the conclusion of your meetings, after the conclusion of your consideration of legislation for your oversights. Then the legislation will move on to the Budget and Finance Committee, and a member of your committee, usually the chair or vice chair and or vice chair or other committee members, will present to the Budget and Finance Committee. We've been doing this for a few years now, so rather than presenting the finalized budget to the Budget and Finance Committee, the recommendations you make will be presented to the Budget and Finance Committee, and the Budget and Finance Committee will be the final authority. I'm asking that a member of my staff, of the staff office of Legislative Council, provide me one of the drafts that I have done for one of the divisions that you have oversight over, just to get a final, give you an idea of how the legislation works. But before I go into the specifics of what will go into the legislation, it's appropriate now to go into what's called the procedures for oversight committee meetings for the fiscal year 2025 program budget for the fiscal year 2025 Navajo Nation comprehensive budget. And this is, I understand you have copies of these that have been sent to you. I hope that you can access it. I didn't know that I should have brought hard copies. It's nice to look at hard copies. But these particular procedures are different than the ones that we used last year, for the same reason that I have explained to you that RDC will not be the final authority on these budget resolutions, but rather Budget and Finance. For that reason, Office of Legislative Council has gone over and made changes in the procedures. A lot of the procedures are the same. We've added some more instruction. Okay, and this particular set of procedures is something that legislation has been drafted in and is in the 5-day comment period for this committee to approve before hearing from your first division. So if you find that you want any amendments, please let me know, then I will make those changes, and then it can be inserted and you would approve the procedures that you are comfortable working with. Okay, for those of you who the first one is here we go. The first point here, number 1, the current standing committee rules, number 6. Standing committee rule number 8. Standing committee rule number 8 is order of agenda business. And that is what we follow every time, just like today. The order of our business is what we're used to seeing. for these particular procedures for the fiscal oversight, budget process, we ask that you not put in 2 or 3 of the items that you usually put in. And one of those items is, if you were to go to, rule number 8, you would see about 3 items that would be taken out. And each agenda for your oversight meetings for the, budgets shall call the meeting to order, just like we did here. Roll call and invocation. That is just like what we always use for any of our meetings or special meetings. The second is to recognize guests and visiting officials. Again, the same as you are used to. Rule 8 is number 6 is number 3 is number C is review and adopt the agenda. And again, on today's agenda, you reviewed and adopted the agenda. So that's exactly the same. With this limitation, the agenda will only include legislation that pertains to the budget process for your oversight committees, and also the adoption of these procedures. Those will be the limitations of your meetings. And then what will not be on the agenda are reviewing and approving journals and receiving reports and old business. Those will not be on your agenda. We'll go right to the new business, which is the legislation, the budget legislation. And then close of meeting, announcements, and adjournment, just like how your meetings usually. So that, and we take out 3 items and concentrate just on the legislation. Okay, and then number 3, agenda shall be posted to show a single budget meeting, duration of 5 consecutive work days. So again, we've done this before, in which today's meeting is listed on the meetings posted as just 1 day, and it started at 1 and it goes just today. For these particular budget meetings, we suggest 5 days. You don't have to use all 5 days. 5 days, and because it's listed as 1 meeting for 5 days, it allows you the opportunity to adjourn and use the to go on to the next day. So you don't recess to go on to the next day and not adjourn. 1 meeting, recess to the next day, recess for the next day for the amount of total of 5 days that you may or may not use all 5. Okay, that allows some movement in allowing the programs and divisions to make changes to the budgets and such. Okay, number 4, the oversight committee may recess during its 5-day budget meeting to provide time for amendments to be drafted and budget exhibits to be revised. Number 5, the oversight committee, RDC, is not required. This is just a little bit of education here. The oversight committee is not required to swear in any agents or other presenters. They're not required to. Regarding their presentations, the Navajo Nation personnel policies dated June 3, 2020, subjects all Navajo Nation employees to termination for the first offense for knowingly making false statements or falsifying documents. And under the Navajo Nation Ethics and Government Law at 2 Navajo Nation Code Section 3741 to 3793, all Navajo Nation elected officials are subject to forfeiture of their elected positions and potential civil penalties for knowingly making false statements or providing false documents. So we're just saying that there is anybody providing the information to RDC was already bound to talk truthfully. And those are those 2 provisions that catch that. Nothing prevents the committee from requiring that. We're just saying it's already there. Number 6, after a budget legislation is motioned, The Office of Management and Budget shall present a simple verbal and or written budget summary to the committee before the sponsor of the legislation starts his or her presentation on the budget legislation. Again, this is what has happened before. OMB starts its off, or remember, only staff. I understand that there might be staff limitations. And we'll get updated on that in terms of how many committees are meeting at the same time and how many OMB staffers are available. We'll have to, Rodney, Tahi, and I should get an update before the meeting, make sure that we have somebody there. And if not, if that's going to be covered, there's also the virtual possibility. But you'll be provided, as in the past, a written document of what they would present. Well, on to number 7. The sponsor of the budget legislation and his or her agent shall have 20 minutes to present the legislation. The presiding chair, at his or her discretion, may increase or decrease the 20-minute time period for the initial presentation of the legislation. Again, we're used to a 20-minute presentation, and you may find that you may need more or less, and that you could amend, the provision is here for the chair or the presiding chair to make that change. Right now, we're used to 20 minutes and might be more or less. There's room for flexibility. And this again is just like any other legislation. Number 8. As with any legislation, oversight committee members may ask questions of the agents and OMB through the sponsor. Questions to advisors such as the controller, Department of Personnel Management staff should go through the presiding chair. Again, this is usually how our meetings are conducted. Okay, number 9. Each budget legislation shall have attached to it exhibits A, B, C, D, E, and F as follows. Exhibit A, fund type budget summary. These are all the same that you usually get except for exhibit F. So exhibit B would be general fund comparison summary. Exhibit C, recommended changes to the general fund budget. D, recommended conditions of appropriation and legislative concerns. And that one will be empty. And that will be where if you want to provide a condition of appropriation or legislative concern, then you would ask me to draft them. Now, again, the difference between a condition of appropriation and legislative concern, a condition of appropriation is, it has sanctions if not abided by, having to do with travel for that particular program. Legislative concern is alerting the program that you are concerned about a particular issue, and it's being put into the legislation. But there's no sanction for that particular. Exhibit E, recommended unmet needs budgets. Again, this is the program to alert you what they would like that is not budgeted for. Exhibit F is a new exhibit. Exhibit F is an exhibit in which the program alerts you to what it gets from external funds, grants, and such, usually from the federal government. The Navajo EPA receives a lot of grants and such, and a lot of your programs you hear about already. And that particular request has been made by at times from other standing committees so that they can compare what they can see what is being funded from outside sources to what and how and where there might be holes in where there might be need for general funds. Just to give an overall picture of the budget needs. And what isn't listed on this particular the procedures are 2 more exhibits, G and H. G and H will be, the G will be the RDC's committee report.
G.
And H will be Budget and Finance Committee's, Budget and Finance Committee's committee report. And this will be the first time that we will be attaching them as exhibits.
Hmm.
With this, after much discussion, as you know, when there is more than one committee assigned to a legislation, the final committee has final authority over the exhibits that are approved.
Mm-hmm.
And that is per title 2/164 process. So because Resources and Development Committee and all oversight committees will not be final authority, and because RDC and other committees have a responsibility to make recommendations, those recommendations will become part of the legislation. So it will be, when it goes on, you will see, even though Budget and Finance Committee might make an amendment, there'll be, whatever RDC did will be kept in the legislation. And as you know, the exhibits A, B through E are 1 or 2 pages that get attached. What we do know is the committee will ask for changes that are reflected in the binder, that don't necessarily, are not necessarily reflected in the exhibit, in the totals. They're moving it in one particular business unit or something like that, which are not reflected in the exhibit A, in which they are told to make the change in the binder. And is that where the committee report catches that? That's why what we find it's important that the committee report reflect the changes and be attached as an exhibit, so that it is very clear where amounts are moved from or added to. That's the reason that we find that the committee reports capture that, so that we decided that exhibits G and H are very helpful in making a clear record of your negotiations and of your determinations for the oversight committees, such that all of this then will go to the Budget and Finance Committee. Budget and Finance Committee makes it a change to exhibit A, B, or C. The Budget and Finance Committee change will be reflected as exhibit A-1. Exhibit B-1, so that it's very clear which committee, and then their exhibits will be adopted as the. Just to make, and we were thinking this through, how best to memorialize the recommendations of the Oversight Committee. So those are the exhibits. So additional G and H that are not listed here as 9 are added. Those are the committee reports. And there'll be a directive at the end of each legislation for the staff to put in the committee reports. The committee reports will not be ready right when you're voting, as you know. A directive will be made, they will be added. 10. The Office of Legislative Counsel will provide fillable amendment forms to each of the Oversight Committee members. And we did this before. This amendment form shall be used for all proposed amendments to any exhibits and documents in the budget binder. And then these were attached last time with the committee report. Your request for changes, amendments to the exhibits A, B, C, D, E, F, and also to the binder. And then we do realize that it's sometimes difficult for you to find the budget unit number and such, and then we would ask the staff that comes with the Oversight Committee, Oversight Committee's division to come in and assist. And the idea is we're dealing with numbers both in terms of dollar figures, but also budget unit numbers to get an idea of where exactly money is being transferred from or added to. For each proposed amendment, the filled out amendment form shall be submitted to the committee's legislative advisor and the Office of Legislative Counsel. Amendments shall be restricted to moving funds within a single branch. Inter-branch revisions of budget dollar figures are not permitted. And again, this is not me. This is how that there's a process. If that's going to happens in the comprehensive budget legislation process. It doesn't happen at oversight committee level. Okay, 11, for each proposed amendment, okay,
You already read.
12. Office of Legislative Counsel will prepare the wording for proposed amendments using the information provided on the amendment form. Legislative advisor shall revise exhibit B and C according to the amendments approved by the Oversight Committee. And that has happened in the past. It's all very, it's very helpful if your amendment form provides the right information and then Rodney can put it in the report and such. 13, legislative advisors shall also prepare directives regarding the submittal of revised exhibits and revised budget binder documents, if any. Okay, so then again, this has been done in the past. We need to keep track of the amendments, and particular individuals need to be told, given the assignment, to make the changes. 14, as with any other legislation, the Oversight Committee shall vote on each proposed amendment individually, and then on the main motion for each budget legislation. As with any other legislation, a quorum of committee members is required for each vote. We know that. And we say that here because that was not all, as I said before, in the past, that was not always required. This process has a history, so we very specifically say quorum is required. 15, the Oversight Committee's legislative advisor is responsible for keeping a complete and accurate list of all proposed amendments for including in the Oversight Committee report that will be submitted to the Budget and Finance Committee along with the budget legislation. Again, this is the report and will be added will be directed to be added as Exhibit G. 16, once the Oversight Committee votes on or tables, if you vote on it, or even if you table a budget legislation, it shall then move forward to the Budget and Finance Committee. Oversight Committee actions on all budget legislation shall serve as the committee's recommendations to the Budget and Finance Committee. So that all of your exhibits will be in the recommendation portion of the legislation. 17, the Oversight Committee through its chair and or vice chair or authorized designee shall give a presentation to the Budget and Finance Committee on each of the budget legislations for the programs, divisions, etc., under that Oversight Committee's oversight authority. So that is and I see attached to this, is a draft. Oh no, it isn't attached. I see it. I did check. If I have our staff or see if she sent a copy of a draft legislation, then I can forward it to you. I'm going to forward this to you all so that you can follow along to see what, and I have on it draft.
Voting. Navajo Nation. The third.
Oh, sent it, it's something that was sent from Office of Legislative Council, one of our staff here.
The email was sent, but I do not see an attachment. Do you?
No attachment.
Mm.
Okay, I didn't press the right arrow, it's a blue arrow. Okay. So it's Rodney and Bill here.
Okay.
Motion.
Hmm.
Then this is a draft.
Yes.
God, he's doing what I can do.
Yeah.
Okay. There it is. It's a Word document.
Okay, so here you can see an action relating to the Resources and Development Committee and Budget and Finance Committee approving and recommending the fiscal year 2025 budget for the Division of Economic Development and related matters to be included in the Navajo Nation fiscal year 2025 comprehensive budget. And section 1 is the authorities, as you know, this is structured just like any other resolution in which the authorities of the committees that it is assigned to, the authorities are listed. Okay, so the RDC is the standing committee with the authority to approve, with oversight authority, and B, oversight committee having the authority to make recommendations, Title 12, 848. So that's the oversight authorities. Responsibilities are listed there, and to make recommendations to the Budget and Finance Committee. And so the Budget and Finance Committee is listed here in C, and their authority is again 848 in the same sentence essentially. They're together. And in the findings, we have that when this is before you, we will have said that you are reviewing the budget and had a meeting on it. So that's the first part of the finding, is that Resources and Development Committee has had their meeting. At the end of it, when you sign it, it'll be over. So you will have had your meeting, and that your meeting reports will be attached. And we have not done that for any other legislation, but because of the special nature of Oversight Committee recommendations, we are putting in the committee's reports, both Oversight Committee and Budget and Finance Committees. Okay, so that's in there. And C, pursuant to the Navajo Nation Appropriations Act, the Oversight Committee budget recommendations shall not exceed the base planning amounts, and then the D, the Budget and Finance Committee finds that approval of the proposed budget for the division and inclusion of such budget in the comprehensive budget is in the best interest of the nation. And so this is the recommending and then approval by Budget and Finance Committee to include it in the budget. Okay. Section 3 is the recommendations of the Oversight Committee. Recommendations of Oversight is RDC for this particular division. And like I said, the exhibits are all the same that you usually get and which OMB usually talks about. And it's those that are the A, B, C, and D, and E. And it's the binder that we need to keep track of, what changes in the binder, those are going to be reported in the report. And we haven't done that before, but because this is going to be recommendations from this committee, then we want that to be accurately recorded. And so that's what G is. So this, section 3 goes through all of those. And again, if you want amendments, both April Quinn and I will be at the meetings, and we will rely on your amendment forms to assist with making the correct amendments. And also, if you want conditions of appropriation or legislative concerns to be added. There is let's see. And so all of this then, all of your exhibits and the committee report will be your recommendations to the Budget and Finance Committee. H, the Resources and Development Committee hereby authorizes the chairwoman and vice chairman to negotiate with the Budget and Finance Committee on these recommendations. So when the chair goes over, vice chair goes over, or designee goes over, then those exhibits are the recommendations. And if the Budget and Finance Committee makes changes to those are reflected in their budget, the committee budgets report, and also in their exhibits. And their exhibits will be their own exhibits. If they make changes to exhibit A, we're gonna put exhibit A-1. So that it's very clear which were RDCs and which were Budget and Finance Committees. And in any of these amendments, as was stated in the procedures, to make an amendment, a motion, a second, and the required vote, which is simple majority. But all of this, with this, each step will be we wanted it to be as clear as possible. And this is a refining of the process, and I think it will capture all of the movement of the dollars and suggestions for the movement, who made the motion, and the discussion about why they made that motion. That will be all on the record. At every step of the way. And that is the procedures and an example of a resolution. And so I think there's 6 that RDC has authority over. Division of Natural Resources, Division of Transportation, Division of Community Development, Navajo, Environmental Protection Agency,
DED.
DED, Division of Economic Development, and then
Gaming.
Navajo Regulatory Gaming Office, just the office.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
then what about water?
Oh, yes.
And water rights.
Okay,
Yeah, and then water rights is a report.
okay,
to-
okay.
Okay,
Water rights.
and they do not give a resolution for the water rights.
Oh, yeah, because that's.
budget.
an executive
It
session.
is an executive session with a report.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
this one.
so does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report and explanation of the procedures
Mhm.
and an example of a resolution.
Nakoshi, I appreciate that, Ms. Khan. Thank you for sharing that. So at this time, members of the committee, may I get a motion to accept the report?
Motion.
Honorable Aruso, second by Chair Nez. So with that, colleagues, go chanado kitapodo ani be hihchahot ani in regards to fiscal year 2025 process with this budget. Kodo eyan jungo ye jitlasna. Honorable Claw.
Just a question, are we gonna get the hard copies of the procedures on Monday?
Okay, so who wants to take that?
I've sent them to Rodney, and Rodney, you can print it out and give them to me. I have them at their desk.
You mean the budget?
Just the,
Process.
just the process,
Okay.
then we can flip through it.
Yeah, and if, again, after you can review it and decide if you want particular changes to the process.
Mhm.
It was later, after we had this posted, that we decided that we needed a G and H, and that would be the only amendment that I can see right now to add is in the procedures, portion, paragraph number 9 to add exhibit G and exhibit H.
Yeah,
And that would be the,
just that.
at
Just
this
a
point, once you get started, it'll be an empty one. There's no report. And that doesn't get generated until after a meeting happens. But, in the legislation, there's reference to the reports.
Okay.
committee reports, G and H.
Okay, Rodney?
Madam Chair, members of RDC, I can print the hard copy and when it's ready, available on Monday. But the only, question or concern is with Office of Legislative Services, I only have the PDF. So I can't edit
Okay,
this document and put an exhibit F and G, G and H, so that would have to be done by Office of Legislative Counsel. Finalized before I start printing it.
Okay, yeah, just that.
Okay, so if we can just get that to Rodney Ms. Khan so that he could provide copies to us at Monday's Resources Development Committee meeting. Question, any other questions? Honorable Otto.
Thank you. I just want to indicate that as long as we get all the documents prior before the hearing, before the hearing begins. I think that should be all presented there. Usually, so I served on Law and Order and I even indicated that we should be able to get these procedures early, because right now we have procedure that we have, it was emailed out or in the meeting share. You know, the time to review and things like that really need to get up to par, because you know, if this was brought out maybe like a month ago or something, that we would at least have but budget hearings are something that is, I know that this council, we went through one. So that was like a crash course. And we're going through it again here. And I think every year this is preparing the delegates for that, and particularly to this committee, you know, particularly prepping the committee members for the budget hearing, because it's not a meeting, it's a hearing mode.
Mhm.
And so there's different procedures and we can, you know, things like that. So, well, I think as we move forward, we have next year is coming up, and I think that as our advisor and legislative council, and I think we need to get the chief of staff in place that we have to get these things in early so that everybody is up to par on this, on the committee hearings, so that we're well informed. And especially when it comes to you know, the reporting mechanism, when we go into hearing mode, when the report is done. And then, you know, the program tells us this is what we're getting, things like this, and especially even with the budget form, what it speaks to, some of it will say, you know, last year's funding and this year's funding, you know, mechanism. And just so that everybody knows what the difference is. Also, moving around funding within the with that program. Because at times, you know, we can move around funding, but we can't move monies around from a branch to another branch, and that's only council. So all of those outlines, I think this needs more prepping. And Solansa, she's here, and I think that's part of I think we need to get budget 101 document ready so that everybody is up to par on it, all the committee members. That way we know where, and then also the budget form document, or the document to move monies around within programs. We need to get that. I don't know if that document is ready. Because usually they'll say it's not ready, and they'll give it to us until Monday morning. But even that to go through it, there's line items, and you have to find out the business unit and object code, and you know, where you're gonna take it from and where you're gonna put it. And the amount, and then the other comes in, especially if it's like a position, you have to, we need that cheat sheet regarding to fringe benefits. Because that speaks to, you know, the benefits that's tied to that program and what to calculate. I was just, I attempted at one time to move monies around from a position. And I had to calculate the fringe benefit percentage ratio, you know, it's there, but you know. But all of that informal information is really needed for the delegates, and I think just to prep them, and I think that's needed for us, and that way will enhance us so that there's a lot, there's, you know, the budget process can go a lot smoother. So that's just my thought of it, and thank you very much. I look forward to this discussion. So then the other is that we are and this is where I would always think, you know, the pie has already been sliced up. And that's the reason why I always say, why are we doing budget hearings? Wasn't it a budget hearing is supposed to be put in place to determine what the actual need is before the pie is sliced up? Right now, in my view, if a program came about and said, this is all we're getting, and you know, okay, thank you for your reporting, go on. But you know, they're told from their superiors, this is all you're getting, budget, stay within this round. But a budget hearing is geared to where, you know, to understand the program and to hear what their needs are and what their unmet needs are. And therefore, we could only move monies around within that program. And basically, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So say if we take it from, you know, contractual services to pay for, you know, public hearing. Well, public hearing go under contractual services, but say they have monies in services such as rental, we take their rental money. And, you know, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul within the program. And that's the reason why, in my view, is that, you know, when the 3 branch chiefs agreement happens, it's no use to have, because they're already, like I said, they're already told, this is what you're getting, stay within your mix and work with it, make your budget work. But when we get here, when they get here, it's a whole different story. This is the need, this is what we bring service. So the programs is trying to do their best to tell the community, this is the money that we are getting in the name of the Navajo people in direct services. But when it comes to that, always, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough money. We want this position, we want that, and that was one of my reasons why I dropped legislation on the 24th council to do away with the lapse ones. Because we were approving carryovers for programs, and at the same time, the new budget, we approved the carryover, and then they still present an unmet need. And you know, and if the president gives them some unmet needs money and some leftover monies, you know, they have total of 3 pots of monies. And to me was like, why isn't it that they're not expending these dollars in the name of what they have presented to the oversight at the time, and why do you have carryovers? You know, that's my view, and that's the reason why I introduced that legislation to do with carryovers, because they're hoarding monies. And there was one program that wanted to carry over $800 and almost $900,000. And come to find out, when we started to research it out, it was carryover from the past physical years, and just money will carry over. So, and my position that this is for this position, it's for that, it's for that. But come to find out that there was nobody working on to try to expend those carryovers. So we just said normal carryovers, and I remember we passed the budget and did away with all the carryovers. add-on, that's when I introduced legislation dealing with carryovers, and I got pushback on it. But, you know, it tells you, now my thought is. When you budget, when you look at programs budget, what was budgeted to them last year. And as we start the budget process, they're gonna tell you what the third quarter projections are. Of how much money is expended and how much money is left. Is the program meeting their goals quarterly on the expenditure?
Mhm.
And with that, you know, that tells you, at the end of the year, are they gonna be subjecting monies back to the general funds?
Mhm.
Because, you know, I think that nomination budgeting should be based off of what they expend, because it
Mhm.
tells you that the program can work with less. And with what they're expending. And some programs may be returning back, you know, like $300,000-400,000. Maybe we could have been able to put that money elsewhere where it's really needed. You know, like, you know, just for instance, like, for the Ammunition Rangers, really say, we need rangers, we need, you know. And we could put these monies in our programs where it's really needed, but again, it's more of, like this year, that's what's gonna happen. You know, you're utilizing last year's budget numbers. And. If you go back to, again, what their current expenditures are. There's a ton of money left over, and what happens is that. The executive branch will come to an ammunition fair, can you put some money into my SAC to fund an ammunition fair? Then the programs will start their.
Yeah.
Their budget transfers and say, okay, Mr. President, we'll give you this for an ammunition fair. And things like that, and
Mhm.
that's how the fair is some of the fair activities are funded. And when you look at why the monies were really appropriated. It doesn't say it's really appropriated for the ammunition fair.
Mhm.
And to me, that's spending the money against to what was approved in the budget hearings and the final comprehensive approval. So those are just some of my thoughts of it, and I really looking forward to see how the series budget hearings move forward. And with that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Pushing, thank you, Honorable. So, Honorable Clough.
Yes, I just wanted to make an announcement that those BIM books are available for pickup too. So that was sent through email. And then also, what Chitsui was talking about as far as the carryover, I think that would be one of the things that we'll look at as well. So just that.
Pushing. Yeah, thank you, Honorable Clough. Any other members of the committee with any questions or comments? Then,
No, Madam Chair, just, every year, one day, we got,
Mhm.
and.
Oh,
agree with-
use your mic, Ashwanda.
What's that?
Your mic.
Okay. Every year we go through this budget process. Where we allocate funding for all the programs that we are the oversight over. And I do agree with Delegate Paroso here. We need to be careful when we really review a lot of these budgets. Make sure that some of these monies, when they carry over and then they're asking for more money. So we just need to be careful in these areas as to why they're not spending. Just like the SYEP, some of these chapters had over 100,000. And some of them had over 60,000. And children. Chindi, no.
Mhm.
And you wonder, are they being serviced at the local levels?
Mhm.
Not only the chapters, but just overall, if you look at all the programs, some of them do really well. And we just really need to review the Form 2. When they say first quarter, we're gonna do this, we're gonna accomplish this much. We're gonna start working on amending the plans of operations done nego. See, if they haven't, if it's 1 year and if they haven't accomplished anything, that's a red flag there. We need to question them as to why they haven't. It should at least. The timeline, I would say 6 months is more than enough time, Chair, committee members. That is more than enough time for a department or a program to really look at their plan of operation and say, we would like to have a sponsor now or have a work session first. We've identified areas where we need to amend the plan of operation. This fits Form 2, let's have a work session so we can pretty much expound on these amendments or something,
Mhm.
but we don't ever hear of them. Maybe we need to start bringing them back like every quarter, like it says on some of those Form 2, report to oversight quarterly, but they never do. We're the ones that have to kind of ask them to come and provide a report, so I think we just need to look at the Form 2 and compare with what's going to be presented to us here, so be quiet, they over. So I just thought I'd share, thank you.
Question? Yeah, thank you, Chair Nez, for that. I'd like to go ahead and yield the time back over to our legal counsel, Ms. Khan, in regards to any response that you might want to go ahead and make from my colleagues that had some recommendation or comments, if any.
I heard them as comments, with regard to a 4 or some sort of work session or for procedures, timeline for the budget process and understanding the budget process. I would bring that up with the Office of Legislative Counsel. The request for some sort of overview. That would be helpful to the committees. Yeah, in the office and this bottom.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Khan, honoring the colleagues with some of the comments that were made here. And I'm thankful that Salotsta is here. And I know that budget session comes about every year this time in July. But it really comes back down to Budget and Finance Committee in regards to this document that they generate in regards to how the process and whatnot is gonna happen, but you know, as 25th Nomination Council, we really have to be prepared, just as my colleagues had mentioned, we really need to start scrutinizing budget transfers, number one.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of budget transfers going to other divisions or departments for whatever purposes, and that actually takes away from the services that the division or department is supposed to provide. So with that, maybe for next year, if we can get this on the Bacaya Tip Committee meeting, just to have a budget work session, just to give like general overview of this to all the 25th council, so that we're readily prepared, not, you know, last minute. So we're well prepared in case any other colleagues on the 25th council have any questions. And that's just a recommendation that I just want to put out there with what my colleagues had to state here this afternoon. And again, I really like the check and balances with the exhibit G and H this year, because I know that last year RDC forwarded some budgets to Budget and Finance Committee, and we were never told of some additions that were made until we were overviewing the comprehensive budget and like who put in the recommendations for these dollars for these divisions, and that was never brought back to RDC's attention. So I'm glad that there's that checks and balance there now for these particular divisions, And we'll definitely hold them accountable for their expenditure and for the intended purpose of why we come before, you know, their oversight committee requesting for these funds. So so I do have it noted, Chair Nez, going forward, Rodney, let's go ahead and keep I guess on a quarter basis to re-invite the divisions back before Resources and Development Committee for FY 25, just to give us a report and exactly where they're at on their expenditure on a quarter basis, and then we should be readily available for the following. I know we kind of did that the later end, but quarter basis does sound good with the recommendation of Chair Ness. So those are what I've got out of the discussion here this afternoon, and I don't know if any more questions. If not, then we should be readily available. So Rodney, you want to go ahead and just give us an update on legislation or how this budget session for Tuesday is starting? I take it right, or is there going to be some changes? Rodney?
Madam Chair, members of RDC, right now we have it scheduled for starting on Monday, July 22nd,
Oh, okay.
starting at 9 a.m. However, we will start with the budget proceedings, the divisions starting on Tuesday, and that's all dependent on when Office of Legislative Counsel and Resource and Development Committee can get the budget sent to Office of Legislative Service, so it can be posted by the end of the business day. And the 5-day comment period will start on tomorrow and will end on Monday, the 22nd. And the Resource and Development Committee can be ready to take action on all the divisions' budgets starting on Tuesday, July 23rd. At the moment, we have for new business, legislation 0161-23, which will be ready for committee action tomorrow, which resends RDCCA 16-23, which was the procedures we used for the 2024 budget. Per Mariana's presentation, this new budget procedure will be part of what Resource and Development will approve in legislation 0161. In addition to, on Monday, we have the report from the Nomination and Water Rights Commission on the Comprehensive Fund Management Plan for the Water Rights Claim Fund. And this will be held in an executive session. Pursuant to resolution BFJY-3805, the Comprehensive Fund Management Plan for the Resource Water Rights Claim Fund, section 4. It states that any and all detailed information contained in the budget or the expenditure report from the Water Rights Claim Fund shall be deemed to be confidential and subject to the attorney-client privilege. Said details or budget expenditure information shall not be released, posted, or made public in any fashion by an nomination, elected official, employees, or contractors, or other person without the prior written consent of the Attorney General of the nomination pursuant to 2 NC sections 1964G. So unless you deems this unconfidential, our meeting will be held in executive session. Please note that historically, the annual appropriation for the Water Rights Claim Fund has not required legislation, as Ms. Khan did indicate, and the anticipated budget pursuant to BFJY-3805. The approval for the comprehensive management plan in section 5A. So this will all be an executive session, and it's only going to be a report. Once the legislations are all picked up, dropped off at Office of Legislative Counsel, we will proceed with all the budgets starting on the Tuesday, July 23rd, and will conclude on July 26th. Everything has been taken care of as of now. Our meals will be provided to us each of the business days. In addition to that, I've notified all the divisions, the departments, offices, and programs to prepare their budgets and to get the budget binders to us before Friday. So that way, the Resource and Development Committee members can review the budgets that are being proposed to us. I did ask that it be a hard copy and provided electronically on a thumb drives for their budgets as well. In addition to that, I asked that their team be ready to print any additional hard copies that need to be done, because this will all be done in real time, as myself and Ms. Khan, as well as Ms. Kun, will be busy making sure that all the information is accurately corrected, and that myself will not be able to print everything that they're going to give to me email. So that way, all the information that is presented in the committee report and vote tally is accurately portrayed the final authority which we got given to the Budget and Finance Committee. Madam Chair, members of RDC, that's my response.
Can you repeat that?
Wait, I understand this part.
Okay, thank you, Rodney, for that. So, we do have a regular RDC meeting on Monday. During the Tuesday, Bahal budget session again. I believe we're gonna hear from gaming first. Go ahead, Rodney.
And Madam Chair, members of RDC, per the procedures that Ms. Khan indicated, this is going to be one full week of budget. So how the agenda is gonna read, it's gonna read as a special meeting starting July 22nd, ending on July 26th. So we will
Okay.
start on Monday, as the report by Nomination Water Rights Commission on their comprehensive budget plan will be on Monday. But we need to take action on legislation 016123, which, as Ms. Khan indicated, is the procedures that this Resource Development Committee will utilize throughout the entire week for the budget process.
Great.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, colleagues, do we have any other questions or comments? But then, question going once, twice, so with that, I'd like to thank Ms. Khan and Rodney for making this note to the committee to have this special meeting here today. Again, I believe as a committee, we understand, the due diligence that we have to do on our part and with the divisions that we have oversight over. With that, I'd like to go ahead and get a roll call vote.
And Madam Chair, members of RDC, this is roll call for receiving reports, item 5A, Honorable Shannon Cloudy vote.
I vote green.
Honorable Shannon Cloud votes green. Honorable Stacey Ellen Johnson, how do you vote? Excuse, Honorable Ricky Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rifnez votes green.
Honorable Ricky Nez votes green. Honorable Danny Simpson. Excuse, Honorable Otto, how do you vote?
Orange, green.
Honorable Otto votes green. Madam Chair, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. The Madam Chair not voting.
Okay, so with that, motion carries on the report that was received here from Office of Legislative Counsel. So going on to item number 6, old business, we have none. Item number 7, new business, we have none. Going on to item number 8, close of meeting. Do we have any final announcements, colleagues? Ms. Khan?
Just to announce that, as Ms. Jim sent us the, budget process orientation, June 27th, it said, was held by the Office of Management and Budget.
Okay,
I did not make that meeting.
I did not too, because you were just so busy. Okay.
There was something that Wendy put together.
Oh, okay.
So,
June 27th.
June 27th, then Donna.
Let's say here.
That's the
Okay.
Communication Committee.
That was during Navigate Committee. Were we there? Navi.
Yes, Navi.
What he was?
This was Navi.
Okay,
It's a PowerPoint.
all right, well, I appreciate that. Thank you for that announcement. Otto, any other announcements? Going once, twice, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Honorable Claw and second by Honorable Otto So. And Rodney, can we take a roll call vote to adjourn?
The Madam Chair, members of RDC, this is roll call for adjournment at 2:32 PM. Honorable Shannon Cloud, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Shannon Cloud votes green. Honorable Stacey Ellen Johnson, how do you vote? Excuse, Honorable Ricky Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rifnez votes green.
Honorable Ricky Nez votes green. Honorable Danny Simpson, how do you vote? Excuse, Honorable Otto, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Otto votes green. Madam Chair, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. The Madam Chair not voting.
Okay, so motion carries to be, to adjourn and be well adjourned at 2:33 PM. And again, thank you to my colleagues for attending this special Resources Development Committee meeting here today to prep us for the procedures for the FY 2025 budget hearings that we're gonna have starting next week on Monday, and we will be starting at 9 AM. Okay, and then thank you to Rodney and Leonard for setting up here in Tago, and then to Ms. Khan. Thank you. We always look to you for legal advisement and assistance to the committee and also Office of the Speaker. And then to our LDAs here, Ms. Rogers and also Mr. Sosi, and then to Mr. Seaton and also to Mr. Alex.